I want to give you guys specific tips to get into sales. And I want to give you guys specific tips that you can follow step by step to get into pursuing exclusive listings, rental listings, sales listings, commercial listings. But I want to get as specific as possible. What I find is typically when we look at sales training, and this has been frustrating for me, especially early on in my career, is you get a lot of advice, but it's really difficult to figure out how to apply that advice, right? You get these theories, you get these ideas, but the application aspect is really tough, okay? I'm gonna go over some advice that I searched up that's actually good advice, and I think you guys should all hear it. And I wanted to do a little searching around last night before preparing my own ideas to see what some other advice is that's out there. I'm going to share it with you because I think they're good ideas. But again, some of these are a bit more in theory, and they're going to be really difficult to apply, especially as new agents. So I want you guys to take notes. You guys have each of these on the sheet in front of you, but take notes. And if it is something that you think you can adapt and use in your own business, go for it. All right, let's see. First one, find your niche. Now, I think it's really difficult to find what works best for you when you don't have anything working for you at all. So I think kind of right out of the gate, find your niche is like a really difficult thing to start with because you don't really have anything up and running. But in the end, finding your niche, or once you get up and running, is really important. You don't want to be trying to do everything if most of it's not working for you. You want to find out what does work for you and put your time and energy into that. Oh shit. Begin with a luxury listing presentation. So this is a great piece of advice, I suppose, but who are you presenting to? Where are you getting work? So the second piece of advice is start your luxury listing presentation, but who are you presenting this information to? Right? Obviously, when you have a listing presentation, you want it to be as tight as possible and as nice looking as possible. But this is another piece of advice that just to me doesn't make any sense. And if I was to be a new real estate agent and read this advice, I'd say, what am I supposed to do with this? Cool. The next slide. 3, create an experience. Now, this is going to be really tough because I wouldn't even know how to deploy this advice. I will give you this guy as an example. This is a guy, a real estate agent I met at an open house, and he's the real estate cowboy. And I guess every showing he goes on, he refers to as the rodeo, and that's his personal experience. Now, to me, it sounds a little clownish, but I wouldn't know how else to deploy this piece of advice, create an experience. You know, I've given you guys in some of the other module training, this Jamaican agent that I worked with had a really strong accent, and he was a little embarrassed of the accent, and he talked really quietly. I'm like, dude, I need you to break out. Like, what's going on? He said, oh, you know, I'm really embarrassed. I have this strong accent. I was like, dude, fucking run with it. Be the Jamaican real estate bro. You can't deny it, right? Throw some fucking palm trees in your email signature, like take it and run with it. Now, if this guy happens to be urban cowboy over here and he just walks around with spurs on all the time, great. But that doesn't work for everybody. Be flexible. Now, this is just a piece of real estate advice that makes no fucking sense to me at all. Right? Next, be a great communicator. Now, this is great advice. You guys are in the business of communication, which is why, you know, New York City, I recognize this a lot with training agents. English as second language can be very tough because communication can be stifled a bit, but that's something you really need to work with. And on top of just language use, there's body language and understanding clients and understanding how they perceive you, right? Communicating is a really powerful thing in this business. If you don't believe right now that you are a phenomenal communicator, then that's something that you really need to start studying and looking into. But again, this is just kind of like wide advice. How are you deploying this? How is this going to make you a great sales agent? What can you, I tell you, be a great communicator. 12 o'clock, this meeting wraps up. What are you doing? I don't know. Next, be responsive. Okay, this is also a great piece of advice. 100% I agree with this. I would say that this is a prerequisite to being a real estate agent. Your phone rings, you've got to answer it. You get a text message, you've got to answer it. You get an email, you can't let that sit in your inbox. If somebody emails you at 11 o'clock at night and you're up, answer it. Or if anything, say, hey, just saw your email, I'll get back to you in the morning, but at least give them a reply. If you're not up, when you get up, you check your phone. If it's something that requires a quick response. And if you're using a desktop computer, I have this HubSpot app on my computer and I have prepared replies, right? All you have to do is click the prepared reply and it auto sends it out. About 7 o'clock in the morning, I check my phone. Anything that's urgent, I get to right away. And then, by the time I roll in here, or when I'm sitting on a train at 9:30 or something, I'll spend a little more time and get back with people. But you got to be quick. I don't expect somebody messages you at 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't expect you to be replying to them at 4:05, but within reason. How many of you guys answer the phone when it's a random number? Okay, all of you should. Okay, because you're real estate agents and most of the people contacting you will not already know. So you should all be answering your phone when you get a phone call and you don't recognize the number. All right, now if it says spam likely, that's a little different, but if it's just a random number, answer that, guys. You're real estate agents. Let's let Tiffany in over here. Personalize. I suppose this is a really good tip if you're personalizing to a specific audience, but you have to have that audience already, right? Who are you personalizing to if you don't have anybody to target, right? Next up is stay knowledgeable. I would start, especially as new agents, with get knowledgeable, right? We talked about this the other day about studying the listings, understanding price points, et cetera, et cetera. You guys took a 2-week course to become real estate agents, 77 hours, 75 hours. I know it took you 3 months, but like legitimately, it's a 2-week course. That's not very much to break into this business. Once you're in the business, you really need to start doing your homework. Tiffany, you want to slide in even more there? All right, next one, identify luxury clients' needs. So once you start getting some high value clients, understanding what their needs are is really, really important, right? You have to remember that you're not shopping with your money, right? You're shopping with your client's money. So if you live in a luxury penthouse and you're showing people $2,200 apartments, from your perspective, everything may look like shit, right? Or if you live in a $600 per room, 5-bedroom apartment, and now you're showing people $7,000 1-bedrooms, everything may look phenomenal, right? But at that $7,000 a month range, the building amenities are going to matter, how large the basketball gymnasium is, how wide and how tall the rock climbing wall is in this building. That stuff may matter. So if you're shopping with your budget and you're spending $600 a month on a room, it's all going to look great. But at that $7,000 a month mark, there's going to be a different perspective of that building. So you have to have that understanding of those clients' needs, okay? It doesn't mean that you need to be that luxury person. You can see in this picture here, at this point in time, I was making a gazillion bucks, and this, like, you can see the fucking wire and charger on the floor. Somebody came to my office, you just kind of put things into perspective, but I was still showing $1 million clients and renting luxury rentals. I may be barefoot. I think I was painting this day. But again, it's not where you are, okay? And you can see in this picture, I was building a new office, starting a new brokerage. Our brokerage is not a luxury brokerage, right? I'm sitting here barefoot. It's not me, right? It's not where you are that matters. It's where your client is. You need to be able to understand your client. Now, of course, if I'm going to go out with the client, I'm probably going to throw some shoes on them, maybe a blazer or something like that, and then go do the showing. But it's not about shopping with your perspective.
Exposure to different buildings can, I guess, improve what we identify as good at 7,000.
Well, that's it says identify clients' needs, and then you got to be able to know the market to be able to translate the needs to the market. So the more places that you see, especially in person, right? Because the rock climbing wall that's literally 4 feet wide and goes 12 feet tall, might sound cool to you, right? And you just see a picture of it, and, oh shit, the fucking building on the rock climbing wall. But then you go to another building and there's a like legit three-story, like 3 floors in this large gymnasium in the building that's got a rock climbing wall and I don't know, a parachuting section, or I don't know. There's some crazy stuff in a lot of these new buildings because the buildings need to differentiate themselves from one another. Let's see. Number 10, consider leases. This is a good piece of advice, especially for newer agents. And I start you guys with this, right? Because leasing, you can close deals early on. You go out and you get an OP apartment, you put it online this morning. Somebody messages you like this guy just did. You set up a showing for 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The guy likes it, gives you his paperwork. We submit it to the building. He gets approved by 4 o'clock. You sign leases at 4:30 and collect your check. Leasing is cool. Okay. Also, if you're trying to get into sales, there's going to be a decent number, and we're going to talk about this when I start talking about specifics, how you can turn rental clients into buyer clients. Okay. So this is a good piece of advice. Stay organized. I think this is more of a life skill than a real estate skill, but I see your guys' email inboxes, and a lot of you guys have 1,200 emails in your inbox and 378 unread emails in your inbox. I look at your guys' text messages, and that little green icon on your phone's got like 700 next to it. I don't know how you guys stay organized whatsoever. You guys, in terms of a life skill and in terms of a real estate skill, get yourself organized, all right? Ask questions. Now, this particular piece of advice doesn't mean ask questions to me. It means ask questions to your client to start building rapport, right? You want to find out your client's motivating factors for moving. You want to find out any obstacles or reasons why they may not move, right? And any factors that may influence their decision. This is a funny piece of advice for new real estate agents. Sell luxury as a second home. I mean, to me, that just seems like a very difficult part of the market to really target. Next piece of advice, socialize. This is a good piece of advice. Again, these are pieces of advice that I don't feel are very specific, but I will tell you, socializing and meeting people is your key to breaking into networks with greater high net worths. Cool. The more people you meet, the more exposure you have. You are your own billboard, right? Except you can move. You're not stuck to the side of a highway. You can be next to the busiest highway. You can be at the busiest events, the people who are making a lot of money, but you have to socialize. You got to go out with business cards. You have to go out and be outgoing, right? And extroverted and meet people. And then once you meet them, you got to retain them and follow up with them. Right? You can't just say hi to somebody, introduce yourself, and then expect they're going to reach out to you 3 months later when they have a real estate need. It's not how things work. Work social media. I completely agree on this one. We'll talk a little bit more about social media later, but we're just talking about you being your own billboard. Social media is when people search you, what they're going to find, right? Somebody searches your name, what's populating that list of results, right? Your name that's in your high school yearbook that was published 9 years ago or 25 years ago? Probably not. Websites like LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram pay a lot of money to Google to be the top results. And also Google knows that people who are searching individuals are going to want to be seeing their social media feeds. So when somebody searches you, they're probably going to be coming across your social media feeds first over your court records or whatever else. Agreed? Deliver superior customer support. It's an interesting one. I guess if customers reach out to you, you got to know the answers. If you don't have the answers, you got to be able to get the answers. But again, where are you getting these customers? Pay attention to detail. Here's another piece of advice I just think is a flaky, random piece of advice that it's tough to apply. But what they are saying is that small mistakes in this business can have big consequences. So if you misrepresent a building, you don't know what you're talking about, and a lot of times, if you're talking out of your ass, this is something that could happen. So if you don't know the answer, don't make it up. Let the person know that you will find out the answer. Okay. Look to new construction. I don't have any information about new construction in this particular meeting. But once you get up and running a little bit, maybe with some sales and have a little more experience, we can talk about pitching new developments and new construction. But developers and big firms that are building new buildings are really good contacts for you guys as new agents. And in the future, you could identify a new building that's coming up and then go pitch the developer to be the exclusive agent on the building. And that is a lot easier than you might think. Of course, having a bit of a track record and not being a brand new novice agent does help. Next is dress for the occasion. I think we can all agree that how you dress plays a role in how people interpret you and how seriously they're going to take you. Right? So you want to make sure, especially when you're out with clients, if you just happen to be running around out previewing and you want to wear a sweatshirt and whatever else, that's cool. But what if somebody calls you and wants to see something that day? You will be totally unprepared. So my advice is get in the habit of dressing comfortably so you can run around, but also professionally enough that people are going to take you seriously when you're showing them a $7,000 one bedroom. Also, it's a hell of a lot easier to get into a building when you look like a professional. If you show up to a building, you got a hoodie on and 2 winter jackets over you and a scarf wrapped around you, trying to break into the building, right? It looks like you're trying to break into the building. You show up with a suit and tie on, right? They either think you're Jehovah's Witness or a real estate agent. Fair enough? And if you just tell them you're a real estate agent, they're probably more likely to let you in than the latter. Yeah. Thank you for that heads up. Okay, the last piece of advice, prepare the listing client. And this is, again, not a great piece of advice in my sense, I'd like to know how you're going to get the listing client. So this is somebody who wants to sell their home. The piece of advice really is about psychological tactics to prepare that person mentally to hear your pitch and be open to what you're telling them. But as far as kind of 20 pieces of advice, this is great advice. Some of the best advice that I was able to find last night. I think there might be the article, the URL, if you guys want to check out that article somewhere in here. If it's not there and you guys want to see the article, I'll be happy to send it to you. But I want to get a little more specific here. I want to give you guys the soup to nuts, the A to Z tactics that you can, starting at noon, once we break after this meeting, you can actually start deploying. First, talking about preparing your client for a pitch, I want to prepare your minds for my pitch. I want to talk about luck. I want to talk about skill. I want you guys to raise your hand if you think in the next 12 months you stand a chance to win the lottery. Raise your hand. Keep it up. So I want to see your hands. All right. Now raise your hand if you think there's a chance in a lifetime that you could potentially win the lottery. I should see more hands going on. All right. Now I want you to keep your hand up if you play the lottery. Okay, so I saw some hands go down. Now, the reason that I ask this is if your hand went up in option A or B that you think you might win in the next 12 months, or you can put it down, or unless you have a question, or you might win in a lifetime, but then you dropped your hand because you don't play the lottery. Your hand did not belong in the air in A and B. You can't win the lottery if you don't play. All right. So I want you guys to write this down. Well, it's actually, I think it's fill in the blanks if you guys have the packet. But I want you to write this down so it sticks with you. I really want it to stick with you throughout the remainder of this meeting. All right. I want you guys to understand that luck only has a chance if you give it the chance. So what I want you to write down is luck is the residue of design. And I want this to stick with you throughout the next few pages and slides we're going to run through. Luck only works if you give it a chance. You can't win the lottery if you don't play it. All right, some questions for you guys. Do you see yourself as a real estate agent? When your friends say, what do you do? You say, I'm a real estate agent, or you say, well, right now I'm trying out real estate. Because those are two different things. You either are a real estate agent or you're not, and you're trying out real estate agent. But how do you identify relative to this career? Are you acting like a real estate agent, or you have kind of a foot in the door or a toe in the water to see if you like it? Do your daily habits reflect that of someone who has a lasting career in real estate? What are some daily habits of someone who has a lasting career in real estate? I'm open. I have mine here. I'm going to hit enter and we'll see a list, but I'm curious before I give you my answers, what yours are. Go ahead.
Schedule, and I have a Google calendar of what I have to do starting in the morning.
Keeping a good schedule. No, I like that. Do you put on there like brush your teeth and
No, I feel like gym, work.
Oh, yeah, okay, cool. So do I. All right, that's good. That's good. And
Lunch break, role playing.
I put stuff in my calendar just, and I don't do it all the time, but even like just as daily reminders. Like I have a reminder to wish people on Facebook happy birthday, right?
Yeah.
And that just at least, and people love that, but at least it puts me in their mind once a year. Right?
Yes, when my buddy told me that, one of the things I didn't do was keeping, this is a big schedule. The schedule always changes every week.
Mhm.
So.
Well, some things you're going to be able to put in as fixed, right? And then there's going to be some level of flexibility. So having a good schedule. And if you don't already schedule anything, it's not a bad idea to set a regular schedule for the stuff you already do regularly, right? Because at least you'll know that you're on the right path. What else, guys? Studying the market, 100%. Just like anybody, I talk about this all the time, anybody in any professional career, if you're a professional athlete, you're studying game footage to know what you're up against. So professional real estate agent, you should know what else is on the market. You should know whether there's a great number of inventory and what the inventory looks like, right? If you're an attorney and you're going to trial, you know what the other side's case is, right? You're going through all the evidence before you give your, what do they call it when you're an attorney? Pitch, something like that.
Closing arguments.
Your closing arguments or your arguments before we got into the closing arguments, but you know what you're up against. If you're a doctor, you know all the new medications that are on the market. You're staying on top of all the new material related to that field. Right. So as real estate agents, you need to be staying on top. You need to be learning the market first and then staying on top of the market. And that's something that you could put on your schedule.
Yeah.
Right. What else?
If we're looking for specific properties for certain requirements, so we need to put notifications on things that suit that criteria.
So when you are working with a client, it's a really good idea to go to one, if not multiple websites, create a saved search, right? Johnny, 1 bedroom, Upper West Side, whatever. And then set email alerts so that you get those alerts every time a new listing pops up. Yeah, you save the search and every time there's a new listing, you get an email alert. I'll be closing on a place for a friend of mine that I just literally set up save searches, and he was telling me every time he saw something, there was already offers on it or it was too late. So I was just like, all right, let me help you out, set up a save search, and then started sending him stuff and calling him when I thought it really matched his criteria. An hour or so after it hit the market, like, dude, we got to see this tonight when you get out of work. Right? Like that's a really good way to stay on top of the market, especially when the market's crazy. What else?
Touching base with clients.
Touching base with clients?
Mm-hmm.
Give me a better example of that.
Reaching out.
Reaching out and saying what?
Or if they haven't, Seeing if they have found an apartment or if you could be any resource to
So
that.
following up with your clients.
Yeah, following.
Following up is good. All right, guys, I'll give you some of mine here.
Prospecting.
Prospecting. Yeah, let me give you some of mine here. Stay on top of your email. That was the first thing I told you guys earlier. You want to make sure you're staying on top of your leads. Answer leads and clients immediately. Even if you're unable to give them a full answer, letting them know that you've seen the message. Again, that was the 11 o'clock at night example, right? Somebody messaged you, hey, saw your email. I'll make sure to get back to you in the morning. But that's a super professional way to not answer an email, right? A really professional way. And no other agent's going to do that, right? Cold calls, FSBO, FRBO, expireds. Sound good to you guys? Do you think professional real estate agents make phone calls on a daily basis? I'm positive.
Spartan listings when you go basic, the openings. Oh,
For a steamship to
I didn't hear what you said, Lucy. Follow up with old clients, friends, acquaintances. All right, you should have a few different types of follow-up. One, your daily follow-ups where you're following up with all of your current clients. And then also regular check-ins with friends and past clients, things like that. Viewing listings in person. Right, that's previewing apartments, that's going to open houses. Meeting new people, professional real estate agents. New people is your lifeline, it's your oxygen, right? It's what's sustaining your career. You got to meet new people to have incoming new business. And when you do meet new people, and to help you meet new people, ask for introductions.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if there's somebody that you'd like to be introduced to, ask for that introduction. If there's maybe, we'll get there in a little bit with some of the specific ways you can start getting listings, making connections. But if there's somebody that you want to connect with and you have a mutual connection, asking that mutual connection to put you in touch with this person. All right. I'd like you guys to raise your hand. Oh, content creation, missed that one. I want you guys to raise your hand if you want to make money. Nice and high. All right. Any of you guys from Philadelphia, or Denver, Texas, DC? None of you? How are you making money? Money is not made unless you work for the US Mint. Money is earned, which requires work. Your earnings as a real estate agent will be in direct proportion to the value of your work. If you want to earn a lot of money, you must provide a lot of value. A lot of you guys get into this business expecting to make money. That's not going to happen. You have to put in the work first, and then you will start earning money. Right? No one has ever looked at a fireplace, sat in front of a fireplace and said, give me heat first, and then I will give you wood. The heat doesn't come from nowhere. You have to. I took it from I think it's something else. So it's Earl Nightingale. I just adapted it. But it's true. And the thing is, a lot of real estate agents expect that they're just going to start making money. You really have to earn it. Taking pictures of open listings and putting them online is not hard work, guys. You're not going to see that much from that. Okay. Now, if you're putting 60 listings online a day, answering every inquiry right away, and you're crushing phone calls, getting people on the phone, booking appointments, which is kind of taking up a little bit of a notch, then yeah, you're working a little harder and you're more likely to earn clients' trust, earn the appointments, earn the deals. Right? But if you're just posting 3, 4, 10 listings a day and you're getting back to inquiries when you feel like it or when you're free, it's not going to happen. Right? You got to put in the real hard work. All right, so we're going to get into sales tactic number 1. This is something that you could start doing today if you are working with clients. Have you ever considered owning your home someday? Right? So you've been doing the open listing rental thing. You're getting the open listings from the listings email. You've been posting them online. What have you been posting? $2,200 studios? $3,000 2 bedrooms? That's not going to get you very far in this business. This is New York City, guys. This is one of the biggest cities in the world. There are other big cities, but this is one of the biggest. People come here because they have money, and people come here to make money, to earn money. They come here to make it, realize they have to earn it. There are hundreds of thousands of people who have hundreds of thousands of dollars. The low-priced apartments that you post are going to get you low-budget clients. Right? That's just how that works. You're going to get people who want to negotiate harder on your broker fee. And guess what? Because it's a low-priced listing, the broker fee starts off lower. Okay? Don't be afraid of listing higher-priced apartments. Right? If you're getting 15% of a $2,000 apartment, that's $3,600, right? But that person is going to nickel and dime the hell out of you over that $3,600. If you've got a $5,000 1 bedroom, that's a $9,000 fee if you collect 15% on it, or even if it's just an OP, it's still $5,000, which is 30% higher than you would have made collecting 15% on the lower priced apartment, right? So you want to aim your focus here on the clients that you're working with. I promise you a $5,000 1 bedroom OP client is going to be a hell of a lot easier to work with than a $2,200 client. It's just how it shakes out. You start looking for luxury listings with OPs, you're going to get people that come through the door that aren't looking to circumvent you. They're not looking to go behind your back. Why? Because you don't cost them anything. There's no reason for them to go around you. Also, you're not a hard sell. You're just showing them the apartment. You don't have to collect from them. And the OPs on the high-rise buildings or luxury apartments are going to get you double and triple and quadruple what you'd be getting on the $2,000, $3,000 listings. Right. So you got a $6,000 lead, Joey. You're showing Joey some OP apartments. You're walking, say, from one building to the next building. You got to talk about something, right? Or let's say you're sitting in the lobby of a building and you got to talk about something, right? What are you talking about? Now, this is something that is literally going to take you 24 seconds to accomplish. All right. You say, hey, Joey, have you ever considered owning a home someday? Now, you're not pressuring this guy saying, hey, you should buy something, right? You're not coming off as a salesperson. You're just inquiring. Have you ever considered owning a home someday? Right, now you're starting that conversation. Now I want to show you guys something that also, look, this whole thing is going to take 24 seconds, right? And if it's the right person, which it will be a lot of the time, right? Because this guy with a $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 budget presumably has some money, right? Or comes from a family with money, presumably. Or if not, he's earning decent money now, and pretty soon will be someone who has some real money, right? It's New York City. Now, you don't want to go out and be talking out of your ass, right? So I want to give you guys this right here. The link is on the PDF that you guys have. It's a condo mortgage calculator. Why condo? Because it gives you an option for real estate tax and for common charges. Here it's listed as HOA fees, but common charges, HOA fees are the same thing. Now, say you're out there with Joey looking at that $6,000 apartment. You want to know what $6,000 can buy him. All right. In this particular case, with 10% down, because it's condo, not a co-op. Co-ops, you typically need 20% down. But if it's a condo, Joey can get a $750,000 condo. Not a bad deal, right? Now, what if Joey was looking at a 2-bedroom? Now, a $750,000 condo, probably not going to get you a great 2-bedroom, right? It's going to get you $6,000 a month, might get you a pretty decent 2-bedroom rental. But on a condo, it may not get you a super luxury condo, right? Brand new construction doorman building. However, you probably find a pretty decent 1-bed at $750,000 in a condo. And the cool thing about a condo that you can't do with a co-op is you can make alterations to the space. So you could flex that condo, right? And turn that condo into a 2-bedroom. Now, if Joey happens to have some money, or Joey's parents happen to have some money, maybe they consider putting down a down payment. Here's how that conversation goes. Joey, you know, for about $6,000 a month, we're looking at $6,000 apartments with Joey today, right? You could get a condo for like $750,000. You get a condo. Your monthly payments would be about the same as they are now. You obviously have to put down the down payment, but in 3 years, you'd have $100,000 to $150,000 in equity. So if you're going to stay in this rental for a year, 2, 3 years, you're going to have nothing. That money's going out the window. You bought something this year. You could close quick, 30, 45 days, right? Because we all know every freaking lead that you get is trying to move 2 months from now, right? Everybody's coming to me going, what do I do with this person? They want to move in July. Well, if you take Joey out today and he wants to move in July, it's definitely enough time to find him a condo to buy, right? Especially with simple financing. And the sell here to Joe, you're not selling it. You're just presenting the information. In 2 to 3 years, you could have $100,000 to $150,000 in equity. Right? Look at this chart. What's your monthly principal on the mortgage payment? It's on there. Somebody just read it. I don't know the exact rate. 3,800. Multiply that times 36. 3 years. Somebody. 38, 96, 130, 120, 130.
Yes.
Yeah, in that range, 120. All right. So that's $120,000 in principal mortgage payments over the course of 3 years. This is easy math, guys. And if you can't do it in your head, like I just couldn't, but I was close, type it in your phone, right? But you hit that monthly mortgage calculator for every client that you go out with. Obviously, it's not a $1,900 client because we're not finding them something they get a mortgage for $2,000 a month, probably. And if you're looking in Brooklyn or Queens or Bronx, maybe, right? But most of your Manhattan clients, where you're posting this $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 OP apartment, you throw the numbers into the mortgage calculator, do a little reverse trigonometry here on the math to understand what their budget buys them with what down payment, screenshot that, and bring it up in conversation between talking about stuffed crust pizza.
Come on, man.
Just in 6K, a 1-bedroom is the luxury bedroom, but
750,000 is not a luxury condo. Exactly. But in 2 or 3 years, Joey's now got $100,000 to $150,000 in equity. Right? So the sell is whether or not Joey wants to save $150,000 over the course of 2 or 3 years, right? And maybe it's not going to be a shiny doorman building. By the way, Joey's 26 years old, right? It's his parents that are paying for this. We know that. Okay. So does 26-year-old Joey really need white glove concierge valet service? Probably not. Now, would he like it? Sure. But would his parents, who are the real ones paying for this, think it might be a wiser investment? Right. By the way, if we do find Joey something, you'll probably be in touch with his parents pretty soon if they're going to be guaranteeing the lease, right? And we'll get there later on. Now, 750, not a luxury condo. However, like I said, maybe it's a 1-bedroom, and because it's a condo, you can alter the space, maybe put up a flex wall. So maybe you were just looking at a $6,000 2-bed. A $6,000 2-bed, definitely not high-end white glove concierge type building, probably a luxury newer construction building, but it's not going to be the pinnacle brand new construction built last year, like what you're seeing in Hudson Yards right now, right? It's going to be a building that's 10 or 20 years old, maybe that's renovated. But there's going to be a little bit of a sell. But again, you're just presenting. Joey, have you ever considered owning a home someday? Right, that's super non-confrontational. And I know you're all afraid of confrontation. Have you ever considered owning a home someday? You guys all have the URL for this condo mortgage calculator, which, by the way, if you lost this paperwork, you could just go, there's a special website to actually find mortgage calculators. Write this one down in case you forget. It's www.google.com. So you can pretty much find anything you're looking for on that website. All right.
And interest rates are pretty low now.
Well, so, and we were just talking about interest rates, guys. That was Google. You don't have to write it down.
Well, I did, and I feel dumb.
So just one note on interest rates, because everybody's saying, holy shit, the interest rates have gone up so much in the last 2 years. Historically, these are not very high interest rates. Okay. Historically, interest rates have been 2 and 3 times what they are right now. Just because interest rates 3 years ago were stupid low doesn't mean that these are high interest rates. These are reasonable interest rates. Okay, they're reasonable. They're very normal interest rates. They're not high interest rates. Okay, you can't compare everything to the absolute best, right? We had the absolute best during coronavirus, when people were turning into zombies and it was doomsday, and the government was like, oh shit, we got to spur the economy and drop the interest rates, right? We're not there anymore. It's unlikely to be doomsday anytime again soon, despite what you might see on the news. There'll be some new strain this week, right? But the mortgage rates are now back to where they historically have been for the last couple of decades. Although before that, they were 17%.
17?
Yeah, they were, I mean, we're talking, mid-teens. So look at the interest rates in the 80s, you know, so historically, 5 and 6% interest rates are not that bad. You can't compare everything to the absolute pinnacle of the best, because we're not getting back there anytime soon. So if you have a client that thinks they're going to hold out until the interest rates are 2.7 again, it's never going to happen. Lucy said her parents paid 17. So yeah, 17%. I'm not pulling these numbers out of nowhere.
And it was fixed for 30 years.
And it was fixed. Well, they probably should have.
They couldn't get out of it.
Probably
But they
should have
did pay.
refinanced.
Yeah. I think they did a couple of times, but thankfully they paid it off.
All right.
Yeah.
Next up here, tactic number 2. Guys, so I gave you the simple way in when you're working with a rental client, right? All it takes is for you to post a couple dozen OP luxury apartments, you'll get leads, right? Now, if you post a $2,200 apartment, you're going to have 40 emails in the next 4 hours, okay? On one listing. You post a $6,000 1-bedroom, you're probably not going to get a lead on that, right? You post 10 of them, maybe you'll get a lead. You post 40 of them, you'll definitely get a lead, right? It's a numbers game. But these are open listings. This is your foot in the door. You're not going to base all of your business off of this, but it's something that you're going to do, because as a new agent, what else are you doing? Right? Focusing on luxury as a second home. What does that even mean? Right? So you need real advice, real things that you can be doing. as a new agent, posting open listings is your foot in the door in this business. And you're gonna have to post a lot of them to start earning deals. Tactic number 2, for sale by owner. So I know this method works. I took training at Broker Heaven years and years and years ago with Greg Young. Greg Young was one of the great New York City real estate coaches. Okay, if you look for real estate coaches, you might see Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry. These guys are on a nationwide scale and they talk about putting signs in the front yard. Okay, that doesn't translate to New York City. Okay, now with Tom Ferry, actually, he's got more training now. A lot of it is inclusive of New York City and tactics that you can use. But back in the day, and still today to some extent, there's not specific training for people who understand the New York City market, right? Who understand rentals, who understand buyers in New York City, right? You're not buying a co-op with a 3% FHA loan, right? It's not happening. I mean, maybe, but most co-op boards are going to require stronger finances from you, right? And the prices in New York City also are a lot higher because 750 grand, not that nice of a place, right? 750 grand in Wisconsin is a fucking castle, right? So the market here is a little bit different. So that's what I loved about Greg Young, is his training was specific to this market. All right, if you guys interview with Raj, he'll tell you about the $2,000 client that turns into the $100,000 in gross commission for you, right? That $2,000 client who messages you today on an OP listing. They lived there for a year. Now it's a small apartment, but it was their first apartment. A year later, you follow up and they're ready for something a little bit bigger. And you got 2,000 as the OP this year, right? At a 50-50 split. So you made $1,000 if you were lucky. Next year, they're ready to move and maybe they want to rent a $3,200 place with a roommate. And now this one, you're charging them, let's say 15%, but you're going to give them a discount because they're a return client. You charge them 12% because there's no OP on this one, right? They're happy to pay 12% because now they're paying less than 2,000, right? They're paying 1,600 because it's a 2-bedroom, right? Now what's 12% on 3,600? About 5,400, something like that. So around $5,000, and let's say at this point in time, you're on a 60% split, right? So now you're making $3,000 in your pocket. So that's 4,000 in total. Now in another year, this guy wants, let's say 2 years later, this guy wants a nicer apartment. He's finally got that raise and promotion. Now he's 3 years into working in the city, right? And he wants to rent a $4,800 1-bedroom. And you rent this, you collect the OP on that, that's $4,800. You're still at 60%, getting 60% of that. Now you've got about $7,500 in gross commission. Now the guy lives in this $4,800 apartment only for a year because it's a big waste of money in rent, right? But he was sick of living in a crappy place. He needed a little more luxury. He was making the money, he'd spend his money on that. But now he doesn't want to be throwing the money out the window, he wants to buy something. Now he's not getting a luxury place, right, at a comparable $4,500 a month in mortgage payments, but maybe he's going to buy a co-op that he's going to stay in for a couple of years, right? So you help him buy this co-op at let's say 600 grand. Now, 3 years later, he wants to upgrade, or maybe he's dating somebody, or he's in a serious relationship. They want to do a 1-bedroom, get a little larger place. They have combined incomes, right? So now they want to buy something for $990,000, right? Well, you get to sell their old house, you make commission there, and you help them buy the new place, you make commission there. Now, what's the commission? What's 3% of 900,000? 27 grand, right? And let's say you're on a 70% split now. What's 70% of 27? What do you got? 27,000 times 0.7. All right, so that's 18 grand that you put in your pocket on the purchase of the $900,000 place, but you also sold his $600,000 place. Now he bought it for 600, but now it's worth 650. You were the, I'm going to do the math, this is a little bit faster here. You were the selling agent, but it was a co-broke, so you only made 3% on this one. right? Now, let's say it's worth 650,000 times 0.03. It's 19,000. So 19,000 plus 18,000. That's 37,000 right there, right? On top of your previous 5 years of dealing with this guy who you met off a $2,000 OP studio in January when they were paying OPs on $2,000 studios, right? So you can see how retaining clients over the course of time is valuable, right? And how over the course of a decade, you could make 100 grand off of one person, right? And these are pretty reasonable numbers. We went pretty low, right? I said you're at a 50% split, you're at a 60% split, 70% split, which is, you know, if you're now closing $1 million clients, you're probably at least at 70%. If you're at Oxford, you could be at 90 or 100%, especially 4 years from now, right? And each of those examples, you were making only half the commission, meaning each of the deals was a co-pro, right? So maybe one of those was a direct buyer, and you make literally double that, right? So those are conservative numbers, but that training's from broker heaven, right? That's where that concept comes from. That's where I first heard it. And I think if you look at this business like that, you'll start retaining your clients. That's a good way to treat every client like somebody you could be doing business with over the next 10 years. You can help them and their partner, them and their roommate, right? And the cool thing also about roommates is maybe you rent somebody a 3-bedroom apartment this year, right? But in 7 months, they all hate each other's guts, right? Because they're college kids. So by month 11, they're ready to move out. Now you were on good terms with each of them. So you go to them individually to follow up. And now you're renting 3 more clients. And that doesn't mean they're each going to rent a studio. They may have 2 other friends they want to move with, right? So maybe now you're renting potentially 3 other deals. And I've done that year after year, right? And that can translate into big commissions, loyal clients. And of course, if they're coming back to you, there's a good chance they're going to refer you to their friends, right? So let's get back to the for sale by owner broker heaven Greg Young training. Now this I've seen work, and I see a lot of agents who start to employ this tactic, but they miss the goal entirely. All right, so I want you to write this down. I think there's a blank halfway through the top of your sheet. I want to know, and I want you guys to try to quantify this for yourself. How many people do you know who own property, who own real estate in New York City? Think of that number, ballpark it, write it down. Most of the time I find the answer is 0 for most agents. So if your real answer is 0, write a big ovular O. If you know a couple of people, write a couple of people. If you know 4 dozen people who own property, write 48. Okay. Does anybody have more than 10?
I think more than 30.
You know 30 or 40 people that own property.
Oh, yeah, people have that.
All right, cool. So would we agree with, that's great, that's very good. Would we agree that the vast majority of us could benefit from meeting more people who own property? Okay. So what I said 2 minutes ago was I've seen a lot of people do this tactic and be very successful, but I've seen a lot of people attempt this tactic and fail because they missed the goal. So we've just identified that we all have a pretty common need. Not all of us, but we could all benefit from this need of meeting more people who own property. So the goal is to meet people who own property. That's the mark. That's the target. That's the bullseye. I'm telling you, and I'm drilling this home, that's where your focus needs to be. Okay. And you'll see in just a second where people lose focus on that. Okay. Now this tactic with the for sale by owner, I call push-up theory, right? You can't do 250 push-ups today and then a week later look in the mirror and go, oh shit, those push-ups worked, right? You have to do push-ups every other day for 4 months, and then you look in the mirror and notice that it works, right? But if you do 250 push-ups today and a week later I say, hey, how's that chest workout coming out? You say, well, you know, I did like 250 push-ups last week and nothing changed. So they, you know, as far as I'm concerned, push-ups don't work. No one would ever think that. right? It's something that you need to put into your regular rotation and do regularly if you want to see results. And push-up theory extends to a lot of the tactics I'm going to give you in real estate. It has to be part of your regular routine, has to be incorporated in your daily life. Back to 4 slides ago, what do successful agents who have a career in real estate, not somebody who's successful and they've been here for 3 months, somebody who's been in the business for 8, 12, 30 years, what do they do on a daily basis, right? Somebody who's in phenomenal shape and they've been in great shape for 25 years, what are they doing on a daily basis? It's probably not donuts for breakfast. All right, here's the tactic. Every Saturday, and I've sent some of these to you guys if you haven't noticed in the last couple of weeks, we get a email from Brokers Must. There's 2 emails, one for Manhattan and one for Brooklyn, and they contain FSBO. What does FSBO stand for? For sale by owner. And let me ask you this. I think there's a blank for you to fill that out, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so fill it out. What does an FSO want? They want to sell their home, more specifically. They want
Get
to
the
sell
most.
their home
Release when they should go.
on their own. Want to sell their home on their own and make as much money as possible. All right, so do they want to list with an agent? Okay. Now, when you get a hold of this for sale by owner, you're of course going to try to convince them to list with you, right? Because that's your goal? No, we've established what your goal is. What is it? No, no. What's your goal, guys? I just said it. Get to meet someone who owns
Meet
property.
people who own property.
Meet people who
Yeah.
own property. That's your goal. It's been 48 seconds and you all have lost sight of that. Your goal is not to get them to list the property with you. They don't want to list the property with you. They're selling it on their own, for Christ's sake. They know real estate agents exist. If they own $1.5 million apartment, they probably know people who are real estate agents. Probably, right? And they have $1.5 million asset. You'd think they have some connections. They want to sell it on their own for as much money as possible. And you want to meet people who own property, right? How could you turn this person off? Try to convince them to list with you. So is your goal to get the listing? No, what's your goal?
To meet people who.
To meet people who own property, all right. Here's how you're gonna do it. There's a script in here for you guys. It goes like this. Ring, ring. Hi, is this the owner of 123 Broadway 23F? Hey, Joe, this is Justin and Julie with Oxford Property Group. I'm sure you get like 60 agents calling you every day since you listed this thing. See, I work a lot in your area, and I totally respect the fact you're selling this on your own. But I do try to see as many listings that are on the market, so I stay on top of the market. I was just wondering if there might be a good time I could drop by, or if you're doing an open house sometime this week, I'd love to just see the place. And again, I fully respect the fact you're selling it on your own. I'm not coming by to pitch you. I'd just like to see the property. Would that be cool? Easy enough. All right, now you notice I went a little off script from what you guys have writing if you were trying to follow. I don't expect you guys to follow this script, and I don't want you to even have this in front of you when you're calling people, because I don't want you to read it. Because when you're reading and talking, you sound like a robot. You sound weird. It sounds like you're reading. They know you're reading. Sounds like you're calling from a call center. What are some possible replies when you drop that? Hey, could I come see it sometime this week? What are they going to say? There's three things they're going to say. What are they?
Yes or
Yes?
no?
No? Okay. Maybe. Yeah, yes, no, maybe. That's it. Yes, no, maybe. So if they say no, what could we do? Well, on to the next one, sure. But you could also just ask again, right? I think there's a great power in life. You are all salespeople. I will teach you something that will open up doors and bring your life to extraordinary levels. We're talking Jack and the Beanstalk cloud shit. All right. You want to amp up your life? Trust me on this one. When you hear no in life, just ask again. All right, you don't have to be pushy, just ask again. A lot of people are just preconditioned to just give no's. If you ask again, they step back and go, okay, we could do that. But whenever in life you get a no, don't accept it and on to the next. Okay, not if you really want to unlock doors. Do you know how many agents this happens probably once a week? An agent calls me from an apartment. Door's locked, I can't get in. All right, what happened? Well, I went to the door that was locked. Couldn't get in. Are you at the door right now? Yeah. All right, turn the handle. It's not turning. Okay, pushing the door. Oh, it's open. They didn't fucking push the door, bro.
Is that a real scenario?
I am not even joking. I would say almost once a week. They didn't even try. They just touched the doorknob. And I'm not even joking, guys. Okay? How quick people are to just accept no and go on to the next. And also conversely, how easy it is for people just to say no. Especially if they don't know you. You're calling strangers. Right? People are pre-wired to lead with no, especially on the phone. Right? How many spam likely calls do you get? How many random phone calls? Yeah. All right. So understand that people are preconditioned for this. All right. If you get a no, what do you do?
Don't accept it. Ask again.
Just ask again. Simple answer. Ask again. If you get a no a second time, cool. Now, if you want to plead your case, by all means, go for it. But I think at least asking twice, bare minimum. Okay. And I'm trying to be as non-confrontational as possible. Joey, have you ever considered owning a home someday? Right? Like, not Joey, do you want to buy something instead of rent? No, have you ever considered owning a home someday?
How would you say no?
I wouldn't say no.
How would you accidentally say no?
Like, are you sure?
No, why?
Well, I would say, if you're doing an open house, I'd love to just swing by, but again, I'm not coming back to pitch you. And if I was to know somebody who was interested in the property, I'm sure you wouldn't want to turn them away, right? Now, just so you know, about 90% of people who list for sale by owner end up using an agent to sell their home. Okay. Now, they may not list with an agent, but oftentimes the agent brings a buyer. Okay. So you get a yes, you're in. You get a maybe or a why, you re-articulate the question. You reiterate the question. Okay. You reiterate if you think they need to hear it again, or you re-articulate if you think you need to sell it a little bit. You guys understand the differentiation? Reiterate, re-articulate? No. Reiterate means to say again. Re-articulate means you kind of rearrange the points and represent them. Okay. All right. So you book the appointment. All right. Now, I want you guys to recognize this is something. All right. This isn't real estate advice. Tip number one, get organized. Tip number one, dress nicely, have a good attitude. I think that's bullshit advice. It's good advice in its own place, but it's not something you can walk out of here at noon and start doing, which maybe we'll run a little late today. I'm sorry. I'm giving you the direct instructions that you need to step out of here at noon and start doing this. Okay. And if this guy starts calling the for sale by owner and you start calling the for sale by owner, and you're afraid that maybe you're both calling the same person, well, guess what? So is every other agent in this city. Okay. You get the lists. They're in your email. They're in the listings email. Okay. You drop this script. If you get a yes, which you're not going to get every time, something you have to do regularly, like push-ups, push-up theory. Okay. When you start getting the yeses, what do? Kelly says, come on over. I'm home right now. What do? Prepare. Here's how we get prepared. You're gonna put together a folder. Oxford folder. It's convenient, right? We have folders for you. Now, a folder by itself is useless. Got to put stuff in the folder, right? What are we going to put in the folder? Well, let's lead with Oh, here's your broker's must email. That's what it looks like. All right. And at the bottom is a PDF. You can find it in the DeJulio listings. You can find it in the Agent Oxford listings. So what we want to put in the folder is a CMA report. What's CMA report? Comparative market analysis. It's going to show you comparable units that are on the market. Okay. How can you generate a CMA? Street Easy. Okay, you log in as Street Easy with your OPG account. It recognizes that you are a real estate agent. You're going to have agent tools for free. You don't pay membership fees to Street Easy or Zillow just to have the agent account. You'll have the comparables option. Now, when you click on comparables, it's going to give you this screen. What most agents make a mistake of doing is rather than select the area. Okay, so you see here it says Upper West Side. And when you do this search, it's going to show you every listing on the Upper West Side that is between 1.25 and 1.75. That's a condo. That's 2 bedrooms. Okay. What a lot of agents do is they type in the address. And then they realize they get no results or 2 results. Why? Because you're only searching comparables that share that address. You don't want to type in the address. You want to type in the neighborhoods so you get a list of comparable options that are in that neighborhood. Okay, this is your search. Now, if you're showing somebody a condo, you probably want to check off condos. If you're showing somebody a co-op, or if you're going to a co-op, you want to check off co-ops, right? Because the two don't really, it's like apples and oranges. Sure, they're both fruit, but they're totally different things. Now, you see on the bottom where it says 150 days. If you do the search and you only get like 7 results, expand the data range, the date range. Okay, I like expanding out the time of the listings. Now, what does a CMA show you? Shows you every other unit that's on the market. Okay, shows you every unit that was taken off the market recently and every unit that recently sold and what's in contract. Now, why will we differentiate between what's recently sold and what's on the market?
The market's always changing.
Because if you list your iPhone 7 for $800 on eBay, what's on the market? A $700, $800 iPhone 7. Does that mean that the iPhone is worth $700-800? No, it's worth $100, if that. Okay, so just because it's listed at that price doesn't mean that's what it's worth. What you can do on eBay, for example, is you can look at recently sold items, right? So for real estate, what you would look at is recently closed transactions, because now we know what people are actually willing to pay to get that. Make sense, the differentiation? Now, on top of the CMA report, and I'm going to go back to the CMA report and explain the relevance of that, you're going to give an About Me page, right, which has your contact information, and maybe your bio or something like that. Now, this particular one is very simple. I didn't type this up. It's a paragraph about Oxford. I took the easy way out and just copied this paragraph about Oxford, right? And then I put my contact information down below with my headshot, right? On top of the About Me page, you're going to have a list of positive reviews that you've gotten, a testimonials page. Now, if you haven't gotten any positive reviews, just like I don't have a bio in this particular case, what could you do? You could find some positive reviews that mention Oxford only. And you could put the Oxford reviews because you work for Oxford, right? So at least you'll have some content, right? Some potatoes, something heavy in there, right? At least a full page of positive reviews. All right, back to the meat and potatoes here. We got the folder, the About Me page, the CMA report, the testimonials. Now, if you guys really want to amp this up, all right, this could be cool. You could create a small book titled How to Sell Your Home on Your Own. Okay, could be 9 pages, arguably an even number of pages, but whatever. All right. I have an ebook that's called How to Sell Your Home on Your Own. It's got my picture on the front, and it's just got generic tips. There's another website, actually, you should definitely write this one down, where you could find a good for sale by owner tips. All right. This www.google. Okay. And you can find a great dozen tips that you could give somebody. Now, what have you got? Have you got a pitch package list with me? Or do you have I'm a professional agent. I respect the fact that you're selling on your own. No other agent is coming here from that perspective. They're all coming here to pitch you. I'm actually giving you resources to sell on your own. Why? Because I want to make you my friend. Cool. Okay. Now, when you explain to them what's in the folder, you're going to say, hey, Kelly, I know most other agents are coming here. They're giving you some folder. It's got a pitch in it. It's got a listing presentation. Look, if you want to list with an agent, I hope you think of me. But this folder has tips for selling on your own by owner, and it has a CMA report. No agent's going to give you this. This is a list of every other property right now that's on the market today. So you can see what other properties are on the market. You can see what the competition is. Also, it's a list of everything that is recently closed. Now, I haven't talked about your market price. I haven't even looked it up and run the comps and computed them myself to see where you stand in the market, but you can use this information to make sure that you have a competitive price. Because of the closed transactions, you'll see what people are actually willing to pay, right? And there's like 12 pages in there. There's a lot of information. If you want help digesting some of it, feel free to give me a call. My card's in the folder. By the way, this is a lovely chiffon rug you have.
You ever tell them that you're gonna give them all this stuff on the phone before we see them?
No, you don't need to sell that hard. Remember Robin Hood. Hold your arrows, man. Right? You're gonna conserve the arrows. You don't want to fire off all your arrows because then you have no ammunition. Okay. Revolutionary War. Don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes. Is that Revolutionary War? It's got to be. Civil War, Revolutionary. Nobody's history buffing this. Yeah. All right. When you arrive, be super friendly, super nice. Look around for somebody to comment on. You want to talk about commonalities, right? Let me ask you, most of your friends, do you have things in common? Do you have at least common ground? Similar interests? Of course, right? That's what you're looking for. You're not walking through a museum, right? Now, of course, you probably don't want to touch. Okay, like a museum, you don't want to go touching their things, but you are looking at what they believe represents them, right? A lot of people, especially at the higher value, are going to have nice decorations and things like that. You have things that are literally signals to you for things you can talk about, right? If they have a dog, right, and the dog is friendly and you want to touch it, say, can I touch your dog? And touch away. Okay. Is it okay if I touch it? It sounds weird, but I don't know. People like touching other people's dogs. But it's a good way to build a bond, right? If they have kids, don't touch them.
Yeah.
All right. But again, this is about meeting somebody. Now, you brought them the folder. Now this gets better. All right. You think that folder might set you aside from some of the other competition? I'm going to give you something else that nobody does. And when they do, they don't do it the right way. Right? How many of you get mail every day that you take directly from the mail and throw in the garbage can and don't look at? Most of us. This is literally my Home Depot credit card. I talked to them on the phone. I'm like, guys, I don't know if I just keep throwing it away because I think it's junk mail. They're like, oh, we can send it FedEx. I was like, oh, perfect. That would work. If it's FedEx, I definitely won't throw it away. I guarantee they sent me 4 or 5 cards that literally I just think is that bullshit promotional thing. And I put it in the garbage without even looking at it. Okay. So and you see where I'm going with this. Once you leave, you come back to the office. You're going to go to CVS or Dwayne Reed or one of those card stores, stationery stores. You're going to pick up a $4 pack of thank you cards. Right? You're going to write, thank you for taking the time to show me your home. I wish you the best of luck with the sale. Let me know if there's any way I can be a resource. Justin. Handwritten. You're not writing stickers, you're not putting stickers on the envelope. It's got to be handwritten. Why? Because I guarantee you've never thrown out a handwritten piece of mail. Right? Now you can even see a lot of the envelopes you get have like script handwriting address, but it's like totally bullshit from a printer, right? You recognize that. I'm talking actual handwriting. Now, the cool thing about sending something by mail is it acts as a physical anchor, right? This is a psychological concept called anchoring. Right? It comes from neuro-linguistic programming. You are programming their brain. You're sending a positive reminder of who you are. They are attaching positive vibes to you and your name and their memory of you. That's why this part is so important, right? Also why it's very important when you give them that folder, as a disclaimer, you say, all the other agents are giving you their presentation packages. Mine is ammunition for you to sell on your own. You understand? You send them that thank you letter. About a week later, you're going to want to call, follow up. Hey, Jack, how's it going with the sale? Had a lot of interest? So just all brokers calling you? I can imagine. Look, if you do decide to list with somebody, at least let me give you a presentation, but I was just calling to check in and see how it's going. Any offers yet? I noticed you don't have a 3D tour. You know, I have somebody in my office I could do it. It'd probably be a couple $100. I'll see if I get you a deal. Would you want me to set that up for you? Again, if you're selling on your own, recognize that the listings that are with agents are going to have these 3D tours. Right? I have this 3D camera here, by the way. You could borrow it, or you could pay somebody to go up and make this 3D tour for your client. That would be cool, right? And you're not trying to pitch them, right? You're giving them more ammunition. Now would be a good time to add them on LinkedIn, right? Or if you felt like you really had a bond, maybe Facebook, I don't know. I feel like Facebook is less personal nowadays than it used to be, but that's your judgment call. But the goal is to retain this acquaintance, turn them into somebody who will send you referrals in the future, right? It's got to be as personable as possible, right? And you have to be without agenda getting the listing. The cool thing about people who own property is they know other people who own property. As a start, there's a good chance their next door neighbors are also owners because it's a condo or co-op building, right? If you live in a rental building, who's your next door neighbor? Renter, all right? So just by proximity, they are around other people who own property, right? Now, if they have to refer a real estate agent to a friend or a relative, or maybe they decide it's been on the market for 4 months and they're finally ready to move to freaking Texas or wherever they're going. They just want to get out of here. They want somebody to show the property. Who are they thinking of? The pushiest agents? No, the one that's been in touch with them for the last few weeks, checking in. But you have to make it very clear that your agenda is not to get the listing. Very clear. You understand that? That's where most agents fuck this up. Because they try it for a little while, and then they think they're going to start getting these listings, and they just lose focus. All right. We've already identified the problem for the vast majority of you, and that's that you don't know people who own property. You get a list of people every weekend who own property. All right. Next up. Tactic number 3, for rent by owner. What does FRBO stand for, everyone?
For rent by owner.
Okay. Now, for sale by owner, we're not actively pursuing to get the listing. However, on the flip side, for rent by owner, you'll find this to be a little bit easier. Okay. And it's much more attainable for you guys as agents. If somebody's selling their $1 million home and they list with an agent, how much does that agent cost them? 50 to 60 grand, right? It's a lot of money. If somebody's renting their $5,000 apartment and they list with you, how much does it cost them? Well, who said 0? Why? Oh, you get paid. That's right. You get paid by the tenant. So you see how maybe this is going to be a little more feasible for you to sell. I cost you nothing. Okay. So here's how we're gonna do it. You need to find and isolate 4 rent by owner listings. So there's a handful of different places you could do it, but we will start with the 2 easiest, and that is Craigslist and Street Easy. Now, you can do this on Street Easy by doing a rental search. And then once you do that search, you click on more options. And there's a checkbox for by owner. And what you're going to do, now I wouldn't recommend just doing all of Manhattan by owner and saving that search. I would do 1 Upper West Side, 1 Upper East Side, 1 Midtown, or if that gives you 60 results, maybe break it into Midtown East, Midtown West, right? 1 14th Street to 23rd, and you can just select those different neighborhoods, right? Maybe 1 all of Uptown, and you're going to create individual saved searches. Then you're going to enable email updates like you would for a client, okay? And when you get these email updates, you're going to have an email, new listings for rent by owner, Upper West Side. And these are going to be listings that are for rent by owner, Upper West Side. Okay. Now, Craigslist, on the other hand, you can go to Craigslist. You can do a similar search. Now, there's no checkbox by owner. So how can you isolate some by owner listings? I would use the keyword owner. I wouldn't type for rent by owner or by owner. I would just type the word owner. And when you type that in, your results are going to be inclusive of any posts that have the word owner in them. Right? So it's a slight possibility. It'll say the owner pays electric, you just pay for gas or something, right? Like maybe the owner's name is in there and it's by an agent, but the vast majority of them will be by owner. Now, the especially cool thing about Craigslist is it's not very popular anymore, right? It's kind of old school. So if there's someone who's listing their property, and we've talked about this in other meetings, how a lot of people who own property in New York City are older, right? Because how many of you guys in your 20s and 30s know people who are in their 20s and 30s who own property? It's becoming increasingly difficult to own property in your 20s and 30s. Most of the owners in this city are older, okay? Which is also why the leasing process is so antiquated, where we're writing checks and things like that. It's an easy pitch to somebody whose only resource to rent their place is Craigslist. Who looks on Craigslist, by the way? Desperate people. Okay, so when you call these people, here's what you're going to say. Ring, ring. Hi, this is Justin DeJulia at Oxford. Is this the owner of 125 Broadway, number 7? Yes, it is. Great. I just have a few questions about it. The availability date was, how's your luck been so far? Have you had a lot of interest? What are the requirements? You need 40 times the rent and good credit? Yeah. Okay, cool. You know, I'd be interested in coming by and seeing the unit. I think it's a great place. There's a lot of potential. I'd love to take some professional photos and maybe a video, and I'd be glad to show them to you. Would you have some time this afternoon? All right. Now, I've included in the PDFs literally, this is brilliant. One of the times where I gave the 4 rent by owner meetings, I was in a cab, stuck in traffic on the way to work, and I was just scrolling through Instagram stories. And I have a gazillion real estate agents on my Instagram. And one was an agent who was recording herself doing 4 rent by owner phone calls. And she was perfect to script. So the URL that's here is that record. I was like, oh shit, let me do a screen grab so I can show my team this today. And it was literally perfect. Okay. It's an easy pitch, right? Now, there's some potential pushback you're going to get. I don't want to work with agents. I totally understand. Look, I'm not asking for you to pay me a fee. I'm just asking if I have somebody that might like the space that I could show it to you. By the way, they pay my fee. So I'm free to you. Well, I'd like to take some professional pictures. Like I said, I think this place has a lot of potential, but I want to be able to share it with my network. And by the way, that's free to you. But the upside for you is that if I share it, it gets increased exposure. The increased exposure means a greater number of people who are going to see the listing. Greater number of people means a greater pool of potential candidates, which means you are more likely to get a solid, long-term, steady tenant in here. Again, it's all upside. I don't cost you anything. I just love to come by, take my own photos. All right, like there's very little that they can actually lay on you that you can't overcome. Okay, and my advice to you guys would be to, especially on the for sale by owners, if you really want to actually start pitching for sale by owners, which I'm not telling you to do right now, but you can go on YouTube and watch people make these phone calls. They do it all the time. There's thousands of them that do this. The cool thing for you is you're not reinventing the wheel. Okay, you're going to be saying the same things. Okay, by the way, you know which real estate agent most people list their home with when it comes to the agents that pitch them? Usually the first one. Okay, 90+% of people list with the first agent they interview and stop interviewing agents after that. Isn't that wild? Okay, but you're not reinventing the wheel. You're saying the same stuff as everybody else. You're just getting there first. Okay, and the objections that they're going to give you aren't going to be these random objections from different solar systems that you could never think of. It's the same objections time after time. So that's why listening to other people on YouTube is going to help reinforce and stick in your brain lines and ways to overcome obstacles and objections they give you. Now, when we're talking about sales, we're not moving on yet. We're talking about sales. What's one interesting fact about for rent by owners that could help you with sales?
So we want to buy additional units to sell it to-
Well, we know that they are all owners. So you are half right. Some of these guys, they want to buy additional properties. The part where you didn't finish was some of them may want to sell. Okay, I told this to my team during coronavirus, which was right after, it was 2020, and in 2019, we got a new law that made evictions and pre-screening tenants and taking extra security very difficult. It made property ownership very lousy for a lot of owners, especially the small and mid to small size landlords, not the giant conglomerate ones like BODG and Stellar and Metronest, the ones that have thousands of properties, but we're talking the guys that have a dozen to let to fewer properties, right? Where if they have vacancies, they have somebody who hasn't paid rent in 8 months and they're paying attorney fees for evictions, they really feel that, right? Now, a lot of these guys, especially during coronavirus, when they couldn't evict people, right? Because you couldn't evict during coronavirus, those were people who you might connect with. They have one listing online who might be interested in selling, right? So twofold. The cool thing about for rent by owners, you're meeting more people who own property, right? Now you're going to pitch these guys, but you're also going to stay in touch with them. Cool. Now, at noon or in 15 minutes or whatever, when you leave this meeting, could you take some of this, set up those saved searches, start making phone calls? All right. That sounds like pretty solid tactical advice that you could actually put into motion. All right. I want to go a little faster just because I'm running late. Sales tactic number 4, by the way, on the PDF, there's a blank so you can fill it in what the actual topic is, which is just what's on there. So you write calling guarantors on there. Calling guarantors. So if you've closed some deals before and you've had guarantors, now guarantors have to make how much money? 80 times the monthly rent. Okay, so you get a guarantor that helped you with a $5,000 property. How much money do they have to make? 400,000. Okay, chances are he didn't make 401,000. Chances are he made 2.1 million last year. And guess what? That probably wasn't his first year making a couple million bucks. There's a good chance this guy might have a couple of bucks. Yeah. Cool. Remember, New York City has hundreds of thousands of people who make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay. Luck is the residue of. Guys, I made you. Yeah. Luck is the residue of design. You need to set yourself up to be lucky. I need this to stick with you. the residue of design. You're not gonna win the lottery, you don't fucking play the lottery, okay? I mean, maybe you see a lotto ticket on the ground, you pick it up and it's a winner, but usually the lotto tickets on the ground are losers. Guarantors and past deals. Once you've been working with rental clients for a few months, once you've closed a couple of deals, you're gonna have a decent number of contacts, yeah? Now, when it's summertime and you're closing 2, 3, 4, 5 bedroom apartments with maybe 5 sets of guarantors, a lot of times some of those guarantors might only be earning a quarter of 80 times a monthly rent, right? But you might have 3 guarantors that make $8 million and 1 guarantor that makes 60 grand, right? But each of the parents wants to be the guarantor for their kid, right? They're well overqualified, but they're still all on the lease, but you're getting these contacts. Here's your basic script. Hi, Mr. Guarantor. I wanted to reach back out and check how everything's going with Johnny's apartment. I assume he's happy, but I want to make sure you're happy too. Also, I want to say thank you for helping him secure a place. I know it can be really tough, especially in the summertime with this New York City market. I was wondering though, have you ever thought about owning in the city? Because of course I've done my homework and I did the mortgage calculator to know that, right? Yeah. All right, because you get the link on the, can't click it, you have to type it in, this paper. You know, for the rent Johnny's paying, I mean, for the rent you're paying, you know, you could own a condo or co-op with similar monthly payments. You know, if Johnny bought a place at 600K, if you help Johnny buy a place at 600K, the monthly payments be about 5K, you know, and in 3 years, you'd have about 100 grand in equity. And he's going to school right now. He's got at least three years left. So right now he's kind of throwing the money out the window. Now, obviously, you know, I'm a real estate salesperson. I'm calling to bring this idea to your attention, but honestly, may not be a bad idea. Something to think about. Either way, just want to say hi, keep it open channel of communication. I'm here if Johnny or you decide to make any moves, or if you know someone else who might. Thanks again. Have a wonderful rest of your year. Okay. Can I just see this real quick? I'm sorry. You know, I missed on tactic number 1 when you are out with Johnny and Johnny's got that $6,000 budget. I forgot to read you guys. Actually, I don't have it on mine. I have it on yours. Again, casualty to me doing this at freaking 2 o'clock in the morning. But you're out with Joey. You're looking at a $5,000, $6,000 a month apartment. I think, Joey, you know, it's a little early, but if you're down with it, I could take you to see a couple open houses this weekend. You know, seeing some places could really give you some perspective on the market. I know you're looking for a rental, but you know, it might be good for you to see. I'd be glad to set it up. What do you think? Right? And especially if he is 40 days early, right? Or 2 months early. Next up, hiring an HR managers. I used to follow up with every lead that I got. Roughly 10 months after I got the lead, what I do is if it's April coming up, what I do is I go back to my email and look at everybody who messaged me last January and February. Okay, now this is pretty cool. I didn't just follow up with people I closed deals with. I went deep, and every person who messaged me, the inquiries that I never got a single reply. They said, hi, I'm interested in this unit. And I said, great, are you available this afternoon to see it? Please send me your number, have you set it up. No response. I still messaged those people back. When I didn't have their email and it was just the Rent Hop relay email address, something like rh_17 at renthop.com. No, it wouldn't say no reply at renthop.com. I would reply to that one, right? Because it would route to them. Now, I did probably thousands of these. I stopped doing it when I had a team and I had them start doing it for me. I once got a reply from someone who said to me, hi, it wasn't me you were helping find a place last year. I'm in HR and I had emailed you an employment letter for Joe. However, I'm actually looking for a place this year myself. And then she came in and I rented her an apartment, which was wild, unexpected consequence of me doing this. Okay, but again, I didn't do 100 push-ups and never do push-ups again. I did thousands of these for months and months and months and months and months before I had a team who was then doing them for me. Right? And you get thousands of leads. Think about how many leads you get that you never hear back from. So that's one way that put this on the map for me. This is as a concept and idea. Here's the other one. And here's where you can create a great stream of incoming leads. And I had one agent who this was his only source of business, legit. And I'm calling for Jane in HR. Hey, Jane, you helped me with one of your employees, Joey G, when he was looking for an apartment last year, or 2 months ago even, or last week. I had a quick question for you. Do you have a lot of new hires that are relocating and moving to New York City? You know, I do a lot of relocations, and I'd love to connect and potentially show some of your new hires some options. Easy. Okay. Now that's, let's say if you did already have that connection through one of your existing clients. Okay. Now, if you don't have any existing clients, what else could you do? Could you look up companies that have a big presence in New York City and see if they have an HR department or a relocations department or a hiring manager? Could you look up the company directory on that secret website I gave you? Google, maybe. Could you go to LinkedIn and get the company directory, connect with them on LinkedIn? Literally get the job titles and the positions and all the employees on LinkedIn. Even if you can't find the right person, you could, Matt, you could what? Ask for the introduction. Yeah. Remember I told you that was going to come up later? All right. You could ask for the introduction. Hey, just curious, who does the corporate relocations for your company? Could you put me in touch with them? Right. Especially if you know it's a big company, but you can't find that person on LinkedIn. You could send that message to 90 of the employees. All right. Next, we got two more, and then I guess you can go. Sorry, folks. Commercial listings. We walk around New York City every day and we see dozens of closed businesses. It's miserable, it's dreary, it's post-apocalyptic, it's very sad. You see a business that's closed at 3 p.m. on a Thursday. Are they in business? Probably not. Now it's a nightclub, maybe. It's a restaurant, lounge, maybe, okay? But if it's a pizzeria, probably not, okay? I want to give you an example of something that you might see. So you see the two places here? Polaris Cleaners, they in business? No. They have representation by a real estate agent? No. Probably not. Liberty Travel, are they in business? No. Do they have representation by a real estate agent? Okay. Do you think one of these could use representation and marketing from a real estate agent? Which one? Polaris. All right. So what you do, you happen to walk by Polaris. My advice, you take a picture. You open your email on your phone. The title is going to be whatever the address is. In there, you're going to put the picture of Polaris Cleaners. Any notes that you have, you're going to email it to yourself. Okay. Now, if you're feeling especially friendly and outgoing, what you want to do is see if maybe there's a super for the building. So a lot of these are not going to be midtown office buildings. A lot of them are going to be a residential building on the Upper West Side with a bodega downstairs, right? If the bodega is closed or something, you might look around, you might find the entrance to the building, see if the management company's name and phone number are plastered there, see if a super's number is plastered there. Now, if you are walking around that building inquisitively and you see people looking at you, chances are they probably live there, right? They're inquisitive as to why you're inquisitive, right? The cool thing is they're going to want to know why you're inquisitive. So you will tell them, they'll be happy to tell you, right? They'll be happy to, people are just curious by nature, right? So once they've identified what you're doing there, and you tell, oh, I'm just looking for the management company, I'm interested in the commercial space here. Do you know who the owner is? Of course they do. They pay their rent, right? Well, not unless they work for that commercial space. They don't have a business. You guys see how you could get your foothold into commercial space? This is really easy stuff, guys. Really easy stuff. There are so many closed businesses. A lot of these guys don't even market the space. At least these guys put up the brown paper on the windows. A lot of places don't even do that. Right? They just pull down that gate. Some of them don't even do that. You could be doing a dozen of these a day, minimum, easy. Okay? Back to the office, you got that email, you're gonna look at Property Shark, the property report, Open Igloo. Then you have to do a little skip tracing. What is skip tracing? It's a little online stalking to actually dig and find out the true owner and their contact information. Sometimes that's a little more difficult than others, but there's also this magic website called Google. Right? Do a little searching, you type in the address, do the real people finder thing, et cetera, et cetera. That's, of course, if you didn't get the contact information when you were on site at the building. Let's see. Commercial pitches, guys, are so easy. So easy. Commercial spaces sit vacant for years. Okay? There's not a lot of new blood going in the commercial real estate department. All right? Not a lot of young blood in that sector of the business, especially for retail space. If you start looking up commercial listings, you go to LoopNet, which is free, or Crexy, which is free, or CoStar, which is paid and is freaking expensive. You'll see some commercial listings. You know the thing about commercial listings? They don't have videos of the space. They don't have 3D tours. And guess what? A lot of them don't even have photos. Do you think from the limited residential rental knowledge that you have, you might be able to bring some marketing value to the owners of these properties? Better than Joe McSmith, who's 72 years old, who's been in the business for 55 years, right? Who's got a flip phone, taking blurry pictures of the space, wondering why it's sitting on the market for 2 years. You think you could do a little better than that? Go ahead.
Can you do a CMA for commercial space?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's free on LoopNet. Okay, maybe even Crexy. I'm not 100%. I used to use CoStar, but now that I don't have a commercial team, I don't really use CoStar at all. I don't have a CoStar account. Hey, I'm calling for the owner of 120 Broadway. I saw the pizza shop is vacant. I was wondering if they've closed and moved out. I'm an agent at Oxford. I'd love to help get your replacement tenant in there. Do you have somebody currently marketing the space? I'll ask you some questions. I'll give you guys a couple of other scripts here. You'll contend with the questions. You'll tell them what resources that you have, just like you would the rental FRBO. Generally, the broker fee is paid by the owner of the building. All right, here's the last one, guys. Growing businesses. So we talk about office space and retail space. Why might an existing business move? Because they need more space, right? Or maybe they need less space. Now, cool things, you can look online, you could Google, oh shit, sorry, I gave up the secret website. But you could go to this special website, if you remember it, when the time comes, Google, and you could search fastest growing businesses 2023. You could find the contact information for those businesses. You could look up on LinkedIn, find out what roles people have. And you can connect with those people and tell them about other office spaces or retail spaces in the area, right? And you can look up those spaces through Crexy or LoopNet and share them. Now, if you're using CoStar, if you guys really want to dive into this, which I'm not telling you you need to or you should today, but if you really want to dig into dig your heels into CoStar, so you got to pay for an account and commit for at least a year. They have this package called CoStar Tenant. CoStar Tenant will tell you every tenant that's in every commercial building, how much they're paying for rent, when they signed, and when their lease expires. How could you use that information?
Contact them.
Hey, Johnny of JTI Staffing, I see your lease is ending this June. There's a lot of good deals out there right now. I see that you're on 36th Street. I just saw a place on 35th Street that's about twice the size of where you are. And the rent is only about 70% of what you're paying. Just thought I'd throw it out there. See if you're interested. If so, let me know. I'd love to show it to you. Of course, if you're using the CoStar tenant package, you have access to that stuff. But you could also just see other growing businesses, right? Especially if a lot of these big businesses have a New York City footprint, right? Now, there's other ways to hack this. I found a pizzeria a few months ago. I was just like, if you look at my, I don't know what they call it, For You page or the search page on Instagram, for me, it's just like steak and pizza. I don't know, maybe other guys, it's like girls in bikinis or something. I don't know. Mine's legit just like steaks. I don't know why. It just keeps feeding me more steaks, okay, digitally. So I click on that, I look at that, I get more steaks. And then for some reason, I started getting pizzas. And then I started looking at these pizzas, like, oh shit, this is phenomenal looking pizza. Like, do they have a location? This is what I want for lunch now. I'm just looking at all this pizza. And I found one pizzeria and I realized they don't have a shop in New York City. They're in New Jersey. I said, oh, you guys, I messaged them. I was like, you guys don't have a New York City pizza shop? Like, oh no, we always wanted one. But the rent's too high. I don't know. We talked for like a week. And I'm just gonna start sending them some pizza shops this summer. We saw the one down the block. I don't think that's a good deal though. Not a bad idea, right? A lot of businesses would love a New York City retail location, clothing businesses, right? Lots of shops, and you can just do that, just random research, right? That's just like rapport building, right? You can spend time asking people if they like double stuffed crust pizza, or if they like fishing, what their favorite fish is, but that may not be a good way to build rapport in terms of fact finding, right? So you can scroll through Instagram and just look at people doing weird TikTok dances all day, or you could find a way to identify businesses and send them a message when you identify a potential need. Right, but this is a city where lots of businesses are growing, lots of businesses are shrinking, and there's an immense amount, so many buildings that are 60, 70, 80% vacant. Right, and I'll tell you something, landlords aren't that motivated to get them filled, right? Because if you own a dozen commercial buildings, you're probably not hurting that much, right? And they're probably paid off also because you probably own them for 70 years or they were inherited. Maybe you do the music for the slides next time. Easy enough tactic there, guys. Okay, this is stuff you could start doing today. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of homework. I'm hoping that you guys find this advice as actual tactics, right? Like literally stuff you could start doing today. The advice that you're typically gonna find in real estate, things like be a great communicator, be organized. That's the most traditional training you're gonna get that's out there. It's really difficult to actually apply. These are things that in application are simple to do. It's just a matter of you doing them and doing them regularly. If you're doing them regularly, you will find that you start getting lucky, right? You ever notice people with bad luck always have bad luck? People with good luck always have good luck? Because I've seen a story about the guy that they were interviewing because he won the lottery and then he fell into a coma and then he woke up and they were interviewing him. The guy like came out of the coma and won the lottery. So they're interviewing him like, oh, hey, your life's great. And he was just for like, they were like, hey, what we want to do on camera here is get a picture of you buying lotto tickets. So the guy like goes and buys a lotto ticket and legit wins on camera a second time.
Wow.
Okay.
When was that?
But he didn't win the lottery because he didn't play the lottery, right? He won the lottery because he freaking played the lottery. Okay. But people who are lucky tend to continue to be lucky. And why is that? Because luck is the residue of design. I need that phrase to stick with you. The residue of design. Homework. 1, identify resources for each of the 7 tactics needed, the websites, the email blasts, the social media platforms. Figure out what you need. If it's a social media platform, make sure your profile is on point. Okay, if it's a website, make sure you have a membership to that website, especially if it's free. Make sure your profile picture's on that website, and your phone number's on that website. If it's an email blast, make sure you have access to it's every day. I tell you guys, look up the email and you guys go to like the Google Drive or something. I don't understand. You have to have access to the listings email. If you don't know what I'm talking about, or you can't access it in 4 seconds, then make sure you have access to it. If you don't ask me. Ask somebody else. Because if you don't have access to it right now, I'm going to wonder what's wrong with you. All right. I want to have a positive feeling about you guys. Don't come to me with that stuff. All right. Especially if you've been here for 3 months. Tell me you can't get into the listings email. What have you been doing? Next, create saved searches, the 4 rent by owner searches and Craigslist. That's 3 easy. You can find some other websites. You can do those saved searches by owner. Do it. Number 3, search some for sale by owner scripts on YouTube and watch other agents make their own calls live, right? You get a feeling for what those calls look like. You get a feeling for what the objections look like. Again, you're not reinventing the wheel. You're not pulling scripts out of some other solar system that nobody's ever heard of before. It's the same stuff. Most people list with which agent? The first agent that pitches them. And all the pitches are the same. Number 4, create an action plan for yourself. A schedule, a daily reminder to start doing some of these things. Cool. Number 5, last one, fine tune your online presence, right? You are your own billboard for your business, right? You got a billboard off the Grand Central, you got a billboard off the BQE, you got a billboard off the West Side Highway, got a billboard off the FDR. What are those? Instagram, LinkedIn, Zillow profile, right? There's lots of different billboards that you can have. The more billboards you have, the more people are going to be familiar with your product. And it takes time, but nobody's going to be familiar with your product if you don't exist on these platforms, right? Because luck is residue of design. Thank you. Brother. Thank you. All right. That concludes this session of the Midnight Society. Any questions? Online people? All right, guys. Adios, guys. Thank you for having me. I'll see you guys next time.